Welcome to the Coaching Life Podcast. I'm Pat Martin, here with my pal, Coach Chris Stewart.
What's up?
We counted down again today.
3, 2, 1.
What's up with that? Last time it counted up.
The one day that I was supposed to open us up, it
Changed
threw
it
us
all
for a
up.
loop. I guess that's what it was.
I guess, yeah.
We have our exit music goes 1, 2, 3, and our intro music goes 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Oh, is that it?
I guess that's the case.
It's a nice day here on campus, Coach.
Beautiful day.
Here at the pod. We came up the other day on our way to Benton County, me and Maya and Chastity and Jake's girlfriend Bella.
Mm-hmm.
And we ate at Qdoba, or not at Qdoba, but Chipotle, and I showed him the
Oh, you drove by the
pod. Well, we
through the
parked up
window
there and
here.
walked down. So
Yeah.
they were.
What'd they think?
They were.
They're like, oh, that's where
It was
that's where the magic happens,
yeah,
huh,
they
Dad?
were just thoroughly impressed. That's where Chastity said that's where you say bad things about me.
That's right. That's right.
No.
Yep. You've got the globe behind you today. We
Yeah, we got a good setup today. It's got a little bit of light,
the Scripps College
there's
Communication
a student
globe.
walking out there, and
Yeah, it's
hopefully it's not too distracting,
12:30.
or maybe it's beneficial, so you don't have to. The viewers there don't have to look at my face all the time. They can peek at the globe and watch people walk through.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it is. It's a cool setting. It's a good setting.
We're going to talk about the Cowboys and Browns this week, or we're going to skip it?
Hey,
What?
I know you'd like to talk about the Cowboys and Browns this week. Listen, the Cowboys
You might be surprised.
They are what you always make fun of me about Cowboys. I'm flip-floppy. Is there another flip-floppy team as much as the Cowboys out there? In terms of 1 week, they're like, oh, that's a Super Bowl team. And then the very next, it is every other week with that team.
I think there's a lot of parity.
Well, yeah, the NFL has a lot, but
Who did they play? Since the Saints.
this past week, yeah, and the Saints maybe the Saints are
aren't
awesome,
bad. Yeah.
right? Who knows? But
Yeah,
they
and
sure
also
looked
another
awesome.
team, I'll tell you this, like the Eagles. I thought, like in my mind, I was thinking maybe the Eagles, but the Eagles played the Falcons, and I think the Falcons are better than what people think.
They were awful last year.
Yes, but they got Kirk Cousins. I'm
I like
Kirk
Kirk
Cousins.
Cousins,
Actually, I was talking to Maya because he was talking fantasy, and he said he was playing against Kirk Cousins. I said you might be in trouble. He's like,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not. And he's like, no. I'm like, well, he didn't. I don't think he had a very good game last week, so he typically don't have two in a row.
Up, down,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're probably in trouble. And he ended up having a pretty good game. I think he threw for two touchdowns.
Yeah.
But the Falcons' offensive line played really good. Their defensive line played really good. That's where it starts. And they got Kirk Cousins. I mean, I don't think they're that bad. But then I'd say that like the Saints. I don't think the Saints
Yeah.
are going to be that bad. And, we talked about how your defense looks so bad. Well, how it looked so good against the Browns and looked so bad the Cowboys.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, the Browns'
They're not my
offense
defense.
stinks.
Like I don't have any
Okay.
influence over the defense. No, well, yeah, that's the aspect of the Cowboys that I felt like would be really strong. Is the
But
defense.
I think Derek Carr, is it Derek?
yeah,
Derek
he's
Carr.
underrated. I think.
Well, not only just underrated, but his strength is picking defenses apart
Yeah.
like that. Like if you allow him the underneath routes, which is what
Right.
the Cowboys
Yes.
were doing to the Browns the week
Yes.
before, they were keeping Deshaun.
They were
from-
playing against two very different quarterbacks.
Yes, and
From week to week.
And I mean, I know he still threw the ball deep a couple times and got you, but I just think that defensive scheme that they played against us, so that's the same one they played against the Saints, and that's the Saints probably were able to take advantage of that. So it's not all over for you, Coach. Now your 0-2 Bengals might be in trouble.
You got 0-2 Bengals. You
Not
got
really.
0-2 Ravens in that same division, which you love. Ravens look like they're a mess, don't they?
If the Browns can't win,
and then
I'll take.
Then you have the Pittsburgh Steelers in that division who have not looked good but managed to win.
Yeah, but what's the surprise
That's
about
culture
that?
and organization right there.
That's how
isn't
they
it?
always
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
I would say the Bengals are not in bad shape because they
They
played
look pretty
really
good.
well.
Yeah,
against the
they
Chiefs.
look like they should look.
Yeah, and they'll
Seems like there's not a lot of chemistry with that group right now.
Yeah,
which
but
will
I
come.
think they'll definitely win this
Yeah.
week and start winning. The Browns, I don't think so. I don't have a lot of confidence in Deshaun, and I'm looking forward to getting out of that contract in whatever way we can, even if it's just eating it and waiting. But I just don't see it. And then he says things like, well, I don't have to be the guy I was in Houston. I just got to be a game manager and get the ball to my.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he did. He said he has more talented players in Cleveland. And I'm like, well, I think we paid $230 million for the guy in Houston. And just to clarify here, right. I'm not sure we paid $230.
How many years? How much time went by from the time he played in Houston to when Cleveland picked him up?
A year, I think.
He was off for a year.
Yeah.
Do you think he really lost that much ability in a year?
I think it's possible.
Or fire?
I don't think
maybe lost the fire.
Everyone always says they're like, well, no, I don't think. One thing at a time. Everyone says like, well, he's been gone so long. I think that's by player.
Sure.
I think some players can come back from that with no problem.
Yeah.
I think he's got too much on his mind. I really do. And whether that's guilt or
did you say he had
just
another
stress,
lawsuit or two coming
he
up?
did, yeah.
Some more
Another
massages
lawsuit,
or something? Yeah.
Yeah. Supposedly this one has video.
What'd you say? The man knows what he wants. The man knows what he
Well,
wants.
this. I don't even know if we should talk
That's
about this.
terrible.
This was,
I mean, yeah,
it ended up being a date. Like he was out on a date and went to the girl's house and then turned it into a massage meeting. Like he's like, okay, give me a massage. I'm like, what? Like this guy loves massages. I don't know what it is, but
I get it.
You know,
yeah, a massage feels good. But
I love them.
But I don't have any idea what he's looking for, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't
That's
know.
crazy.
I think he's got some challenges in his life, and I hope he is able to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to figure out the quarterback challenges.
Doesn't appear so.
It's
does
right here. I think his ability's there.
it? And down, about 1,400 miles south of Cleveland or so. Old Baker's having a pretty good time
Baker's
there in
looking
Tampa.
great. Yeah, Baker's looking great.
Yeah.
But I'll say this: Baker was done in Cleveland. I don't think he wasn't going to be able to be successful there. And I say that for a number of reasons, but primarily if you put Baker in the AFC and he's got to beat Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, if he's got to beat any two of the elite AFC quarterbacks, he's not going to.
Don't forget about Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes, right? There's a bunch of them. The AFC is loaded with elite quarterbacks.
Yeah,
so from
truly.
the Browns' perspective, they saw who they had in Baker, and which we all know, and viewers of the podcast know. I love Baker Mayfield.
That's right.
And I still do.
That's going back. That's going back now. That's going back to like what first 20 episodes or so.
Yeah, I'm really happy with. I'm happy. I hope he can. I hope he does well. I want it. I hope they make the Super Bowl.
Baker kind of grew on me as just his personality kind of grew on me. It's like he seems like a pretty decent guy.
Well,
doesn't
he like fit the pirate personality? Like he's down there.
Yeah, the
he's
Buccaneer.
A Buccaneer.
Yeah,
he's a pirate. Like
he does kind of fit that.
But
like his commercials were really good. I thought in Cleveland, the stadium commercials and all that.
Well, you got that turncoat. Colin Cowherd now kissing his butt.
Oh, really?
And Cowherd was leading.
So if Cowherd's your fan, you know that something's not right. Something's not right if Cowherd's your fan.
Oh, is that true? I don't know. Yeah. I think he hates Cleveland, and he knows that if he says negative things about Cleveland athletes, that he'll sell. So,
but. You were talking about the Falcons there. The Falcons also had before the season they had Nathan Rourke.
Yes,
he didn't end up playing at all in New York because he got traded from he went to the Patriots at the end of the season last year.
Oh,
and then in the offseason, he got traded to the New York Giants and never actually did anything with the Giants and got released by them, and the Falcons picked him up.
I thought he went to Miami for some reason.
He began in Jacksonville. He was with Jacksonville for 2 years, I believe.
And he got in with you.
So, as he was the third string because you had Trevor Lawrence and then Beathard. Is it Beathard? Is that how you say it?
I don't know.
Tyler?
Never tried.
Yeah.
Never tried to pronounce it out loud.
So
when does Nathan's CFL season start?
He went back to BC when they were 6 games in.
Oh, really?
Oh, CFL starts in the summer. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And
I remember
he's had a couple good wins. It took him a while. He hadn't played.
When he went
hadn't been on the football field.
Was he immediately
he was a backup?
Was he immediately put in as the starter?
Yes. Yeah. Had a rough game, first game. Because they also played the Bombers. The team that he lost to in the championship. the year that he led BC to the championship game, whatever the cup, whatever it's called there, and then came to the NFL the next year. It wasn't.
That was his first game back.
Yeah, what was the name of that? What's the name of the team? Shoot, starts with a W, I believe.
That was his first game back, and he struggled.
Yeah. But I think they're. I mean, they like it. I mean, he's the guy. They're.
Oh yeah, he's a Canadian legend.
I'll tell you who else is the guy. His little brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he is. He's beloved in Indiana right now.
Mm-hmm. He's looking good.
Yeah. Had one of our old Eastern guys. Longtime assistant coach at Eastern, and then he did his last year as an assistant. My first year there, Andrew Benedum.
Yeah.
Andrew got married and moved over to Bloomington, and he and his wife are employed at IU. And
okay.
And he was texting me. He said he's like, boy, Rourke is a good one.
They're 3-0,
yes,
right?
He is.
Indiana's 3-0.
Yeah. And they just dismantled UCLA. Last week. Welcome to the Big Ten there. Just dismantled them. Indiana dismantled them, right? But
Indiana's had some decent teams.
They
the
have,
last few years.
and now they've got a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
And
Did the Buckeyes play Indiana this year?
They play Indiana at home, and here's their schedule at the end of the year. On November 9th, Indiana hosts Michigan, and I think we're gonna get tickets to that game. I think we want to go to that game.
Sweet.
OU's not playing that Saturday. They're in their Maction midweek. They got a couple Wednesday games, I think, and so I'd like to go over to that. Well, they play November 9th at home against Michigan, which I think Curtis will beat those guys.
You got a shot.
The next week, they go to the Horseshoe and play Ohio State.
So that's still rough.
2 weeks in a row. That's
tough.
rough. Yeah.
Oh,
and we'd like to go to that one too. Get tickets to that.
Yeah.
So.
Jeez, know where the money is.
Sit up in C deck. Wait. Day of game.
So you're gonna pay $100 instead of $180.
No, you can get decent ticket, especially for a game that isn't as.
Might be a big one though.
Like we went to.
That might be a big game.
Yeah, very well could be that time of year. Yeah, it could be. Who knows? Hopefully so.
Yeah,
I'd love to see Indy. I mean, I love Curtis and Caroline. I mean, that just two really, the whole Rourke family, just awesome people. So, I'll tell you what, man, we produce really good men at the quarterback position here at Ohio University. Really, yeah. We coming into this podcast, I meet with Parker on a weekly basis, and we sit in there in my office with our Bibles open, and he's leading the football team Bible study every Wednesday after practice. So that's kind of what we were going over, what he's going to talk about tonight and everything. And he's one of the guys that's there's a student-led thing brewing right now. I was telling you about it yesterday, where there's students who are going to put together sort of a semi-spontaneous, I guess they're planning it, but it's pretty quick, worship service on the green here this Sunday evening. And they asked Parker if he'd give us testimony, and he was absolutely. I mean, there's just no hesitation. It's really, really cool.
It's catching on.
Yes.
You mentioned it, that there seems to be, it's like happening in multiple places. And Austin.
There's revival happening. I mean, God is, people are, I think, particularly college students, really, and I'm seeing it in athletes. It's happening in people that aren't athletes too, obviously. But there's a lot of people who I think are at a place where they're like, maybe I've tried other things to fill in. There's a void, there's a gap, I know, and nothing seems to fit it. So
yeah, I think it goes. I actually wrote something. I've been writing something over the last few days. And it's not published yet, and I'm not exactly sure it's going to be published. But just thinking about the challenges that kids face in the world today, and when you say that, it's like I never want to say in these times. I hate that, because it's like this is the greatest time in the history.
It really is
to be alive.
Yeah,
it really is.
In this country, really.
We have so many great things, so many opportunities. The technology is great. This is the best time to be alive. Make no mistake about that. But kids, I would say, face a lot different challenges today than what they did even 20 years ago when I was a kid. And I I think we struggle with that as a society of how to handle that, how to deal with that, how to help those kids through that. And we're not prepared for it. We're not prepared to do it. We don't see it a lot of times. It's just like, because, and we talked about this, how our coaching styles have to change because we're dealing with, kids in a different time. I think the same is true with the way that we teach and the way our communities, support our kids and things like that. And I think we struggle to do it, but in writing this and do a little bit of research, it's a very simple concept of going back to some very basic fundamentals. Where do you find those fundamentals? In the Bible, and regardless of whether you have a faith in, you believe in God, or what denomination you come from, whatever it is, or you don't at all.
Still doesn't change the fact that those principles are there.
Absolutely. The knowledge and the information, the guidance that you can get from the Bible is very powerful. And I think we are seeing that played out in a lot of ways. And that's, kids are saying, how do I deal with this stuff? Well, then they're going to those principles, and they're talking about those principles, and that's called Bible study.
Yeah, they're talking about it, and that's the other thing. I'm meeting two different kinds of people. One is people who don't know where to look. Like I've had, you wouldn't believe the number of people have asked me. Our church gives away Bibles. If you don't have a Bible, you can take one, right? So we try to keep a stock of Bibles. Well, all these college students that have been coming to our church, and they're inviting these teammates to come to their Bible studies, and they're, like last night, kid comes to our church, he's a freshman here, sophomore, redshirt freshman on the baseball team. He called me up last night. He said, had our first baseball Bible study tonight. 12 guys showed up.
Very
12
nice.
guys. There's 35 on the entire roster.
Wow.
Right?
Nice.
He said 6 of them don't have Bibles. Can I, could I be able to grab 6 Bibles from you, this week? I'm like, absolutely. So you got those who are looking for something that maybe they've never seen before, or have, or have never considered before. But then you have those who have had faith, right? Who are emboldened in a way that I have not seen in 20 plus years. And when I say emboldened, and I'm not talking about, when you hear being bold for Christ, you take a stand, right? And whenever you think about take a stand, it's always we're taking a stand against something.
What are they doing?
It's not against things.
They're emboldened to serve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing. Is they're just
Really?
they're basically like, you know what? There's no reason to be silent about this. Like I love Jesus. I'm going to talk about him, and I'm going to tell you what he's done for me. And it's a really, I tell you, man, it puts courage in you as an older person who's been around a while and has a church and preaches, to see these young people, to walk into Starbucks every day and see multiple Bibles open and students praying with each other. I kid you not, man. It happened. You walk down there on your way back to your car, stop in there and just take a look. I guarantee you'll see at least one. It doesn't matter what time you walk. It's fascinating to me that there's this, I don't know, there's an openness right now to the Lord, more than there has been probably in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Really. But I mean, you got to publish that though, because that sounds really good, and I want to use it. I want to steal it and use it on Sunday morning.
It's not really focused.
At least send it to me.
It's not really focused on that.
But I'll tell you,
it has that.
I'll tell you what it reminds me of though, Pat, and this is something. Feel free to use this because it's not mine. Go all the way back. I mean, you say so. I agree wholeheartedly. This is the best time to live, right? Because we don't know what life was like in the Great Depression, right? We wouldn't have wanted to live in the late 20s and early 30s in our country. It is tough, right? Yeah. People today couldn't have handled it. As soft as we are, there's no way that people could have handled it.
Good times make weak men.
Exactly. But where, as you said, where the issues have arisen in today's youth is how much information they have at their fingertips, right? Literally at their fingertips.
Definitely.
Now, if you think about this, let's keep preaching here, I guess. Go all the way back to Genesis chapter 3. And God created this world perfect, right? Adam and Eve, our first ancestors, perfect. But he gave them instructions. You can eat of any of the fruits in the garden, but there's one tree that I do not want you to eat from. And it was called the tree of knowledge.
Yeah.
Knowledge of good and evil. Now we tend to think, and people will argue this, and this can get really political, that more knowledge makes us better people. More knowledge, more education, right? We need more. We need more ideas and more knowledge because and we are in a time, we're living in a day where we have more knowledge available to us than any other time in history. And we also have more depression.
Well, yeah, because what problem arises with all that knowledge when that plethora of knowledge that's out there?
Guilt and shame and yeah.
Well, here's my thought. There's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yes.
So you don't know which one to believe.
Yes. And so you don't trust anything or anyone. You don't
have a single source.
Trust or hope in somebody, you're in trouble.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So maybe that's the allure that's coming, from a Christian or, Protestant, a biblical standpoint is that there is that one source of truth that, they know they can rally around and trust and get all their information from. And that's easier. That takes the pressure off.
Because a lot of these same people that are now opening their Bibles are turning off their phones.
Yeah.
My daughter, she's like, I deleted TikTok and
did she?
Oh yeah, she doesn't have Twitter. She hasn't had Twitter in forever, but or Facebook or anything like that. I think she does Instagram is the only one that she does. And the more people I talk to around here too, they're like, yeah, they're seeing how toxic those apps are. And,
interesting.
And they're just putting them down.
Yeah.
Right now, the biggest users of TikTok are people that are our age. You realize that, right?
No, I didn't. I've never looked at the
I think if you look at some of the demographics, I think old people have taken over TikTok. It's funny.
There are a lot of videos on there that I like.
See.
No,
grandparents and great grandparents have taken over Facebook.
But that's the thing. It's like the answers to the problems that we face now are not going to be found on social media.
No, which is where all the information is.
Yeah.
Right, correct or incorrect information. It's information. But as you said, the whole premise of your article, it sounds like it's going to be found in the simplicity, right? There's a reason why people love going out and just taking a walk in nature. What is there out there? What is there to learn out there? There's no books out there.
Say that.
There's no TV out there. There's no social media out there.
I had this very
you come
same
back
thought.
and you're fulfilled.
We went side by side riding this weekend.
Yeah.
And we were out in the middle of the woods. My cell phone said SOS. I had no signal.
Yeah.
And I'm looking up, and there's there's water over here, and I'm looking down into this little valley, and I'm just thinking this place is this dirt is undisturbed by the things of the world. Things that I think about every day and you think about every day and things that people worry about. And I kind of had that thought too, like when we went on the cruise and my first plane ride, being so far up in the air, and looking down.
Yeah.
And just
makes
seeing,
you feel small.
Well, not only that, but it makes the everyday problems seem small because, I could see these cars driving around, like every one of those cars had a person in it that had an amount of stress in their life, but I couldn't see that stress from I could just see the car, what I mean? And I just think, yeah, you're right. Return to the basics.
Yeah.
Grounding's a big thing. Have you heard about grounding?
Walking around barefoot.
Or
not just barefoot, like buck naked, I think. People who do that.
People
who do that go out there and sit on the ground, don't they?
Before I said I'm grounding.
Oh, you've been doing that?
I've been walking around barefoot, but not buck naked. They sell blankets that plug directly into the ground or that only have the ground of the electrical outlet. So it's a blanket that gives you the ground and you cover up with it. It's a big concept. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. like just it's ground
I'll be
energy, all
daggone.
anything you can get.
It's not some kind of new age religion thing, or
Well, no,
some
it's from-
spiritualism.
It's, I
thing?
don't think so. It's just
I mean, God created the earth, and you're right. I mean, there's something about it. There really is something about
and
it.
we probably walked barefoot, right? Adam,
yeah, no doubt.
Adam and
Yeah.
Eve walked barefoot,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, right. And now
Yeah.
we don't, and like it's more and more we're
It's
removing
better for you
ourselves from
too,
the outdoor.
actually. It really is.
If there's people out there listening, you don't feel good when you
What are
wake
these
up.
hippies talking about?
Yeah, if you don't feel good when you wake up and you find yourself inside a lot, spend more time outside.
Yes.
because the sun
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and the things that you smell, and it makes a huge difference.
It does.
It really does. Because I feel the difference. Just walking around barefoot in my yard, and I haven't stepped on a bee yet. Right,
They're out. There's a bunch
there's
of
no
them.
need. There's no need for safety. I know there is.
Yeah.
So we went up over this ditch in our side by side, not mine. It's my father-in-law's, and we got hung up. And I thought, crap.
Don't have any
We
service.
bottomed out. No, didn't worry about that. We were with people. But I thought I'm gonna have to get out and rock this thing, or have to get because
Yeah.
I was stuck.
And you're barefoot.
And I got stung. I'm like, ow! And I look down. It's a yellow jacket. As I pull it off, I look down. Yellow jackets are swarming up around our side by side. They must have had
they set off that pheromone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then we must have landed right on a nest.
Yeah.
And I backed up off that thing and ramped over it, but yeah, they're out.
Yeah, buddy.
But I haven't stepped.
We had
on
them in
one.
our house this year.
That's
I've
what
talked
you
to 3
said.
other people who've said the same thing. I just talked to somebody, one of my ambassadors. She was telling me their house where they live, their apartment, they've had to have the Orkin man or somebody come over and take care of them.
Seems so weird.
It is. It's just one of those years where, I mean, when I say in our house, they were going into there's like a cable from the air conditioning units going in. There's a little tiny space there where they don't need a big space, and they were going in there because they were just in one area in our basement, our downstairs, around windows down there. We'd find them dead, but then there'd be some that were still kicking, still alive, and I tried to deal with it myself, knowing that I can go out at night and spray or something. It didn't matter.
You couldn't get them.
No, but ever since the Orkin man came and treated, I've not seen a single one around our house. So
Yeah.
that's
Sprayed all those
that's now a regular thing for us. More money
deadly
that we've spent.
chemicals into your house.
I guess
It's gonna-
so. Yeah. Well, and we have a wood house too, so they're doing termite stuff around. They put those plugs in the ground all around the house too. Cedar house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, shoot, man. What is this? A podcast? It's a conversation.
Right.
That's what our podcast
So
is.
another-
It's conversation.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Another reason that I think that we might be seeing this uprising in students and young people leading these Bible studies and things like that is that it's something in their lives that they can actually own,
Yeah.
and it's theirs.
Yeah.
And I think there's a clear distinct. You can clearly distinguish when a group of people are doing something and they feel like they have ownership in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes them, when they have ownership, when all the people in a group have ownership over something, they feel like they have ownership. That makes them all leaders of that thing. And so they're, when you have a group of people and they're all leading this effort towards something, I think it's easy to see that. I didn't wear a Meg shirt today.
Again,
See what it says?
it's a baseballism shirt.
I hate it.
You don't like it?
No.
Strength-
Why do you think?
Strength in 9.
Strength in 9.
Just 9. You only got 9 on your roster.
That's right. So, obviously I do it because when people see strength in 9, it's like, oh, that's baseball. I do like the way it feels and fits.
Man, they're the best feeling shirts, aren't they?
But I don't wear this much out. Like I wear it under my pullover for baseball and
But you're
stuff.
saying you don't agree with the philosophy?
I don't like it because I think if you have strength in 9, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
If
I agree.
if you have 16 guys on your roster,
Better be.
you better have strength in 16.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then you've got guys going different ways. And if you got guys going different ways, there's some issues there. There's definitely some weaknesses. So I think that sticks out. Maybe that's part of it. You know, we do limit. We seem to, you know, in this world of safetyism that we have, we want to take in, you know, as parents, you know, we're guilty as parents too. We take responsibility. We take ownership away from our kids. We try to hide our kids from it. We feel like we're doing them a favor, you know. Yeah. And you know, when a group of kids or a group of young adults are given the opportunity to do something like that, to lead and to have ownership in something, it makes them stronger, makes them more visible. You know? So you can feel it better.
So let's turn this into a coaching life conversation.
All right.
Literally, our podcast is called The Coaching Life. You could put the emphasis on coaching or life, depending on what we're talking about. So for the first 30 minutes, we put it on life. We coached life. Yeah. Let's talk about coaching.
Yeah.
Now with that idea. If it's valuable, if we're seeing the value in everyday life of kids taking ownership of things and letting them lead, then how much more valuable then is it as a coach to have essentially a player-led team?
Yeah. Well, I think
there's a lot out there about player-led teams and how valuable they are. But what does that look like and what does that mean? Maybe we could talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Go ahead. Well, you know, one thing that, I mean, you're always, it evolves, right? You try, if you're a coach that tries to implement something like that, the thought of that into your program, you're going to do different things at different times. Yeah. And when things work, you're going to use them. When they don't, you're going to throw them out. I know one thing that we did last year is we had leadership groups that were, you know, focused on
your team.
Focus on the team, but particular parts of the season.
In your team, you had leadership groups?
Yeah, so we had, like, you know, there's 3 or 4 guys in each group, and we'd have leadership groups that were, you know, like, this is the practice leadership group. So, you know, cool. if a person thought, well, we should be doing, you know, we need to be bunting more, we need to practice bunting more, they could talk to that leadership group, and leadership group could come and talk to me, and, you know, it basically provides a way for kids that don't want to speak up to their coaches, but more so to their peers, to you know, allows them I'm
actually going to I'm taking notes here on our own podcast.
Well, don't take too much notes because I'm throwing it out this year. it didn't honestly, I don't, it didn't work as well as like I thought it would. But I think it was new. So, you know, we didn't promote it enough.
Well, and you might have had an idea of what it was going to be, and it wasn't quite that. But this year,
but the basis of it is, you know, so we talked about practice. We talked, you know, we had a game.
I bet it was more than you thought. I bet it impacted more than you thought because you put some power in their hands to take ownership of this team.
That's the goal. If there's something that is happening that you think isn't worth doing, or there's something that we need to be doing, or there's just a change, like, can we play music during practice?
There you go.
You know what I mean? Something like that.
Something like that, right?
Have the leadership group talk about it.
They had an avenue to be able to speak that idea. Without, well, they wouldn't have spoken it before. They would just, hey, this is coach's team. He doesn't like it when we play music, and so we're just not even going to ask.
And maybe I'm just that good of a coach.
Maybe that's it.
That they didn't bring very much to my attention. You know, maybe I'm just that good. That
is that what it means to be a good coach? That your players don't want to come to you with ideas?
Not that they didn't. They just, I did everything right.
Oh, that's what
it was. What they needed.
You did everything that they wanted to do anyway. Yeah.
But no, because I want my players to come to me and say, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? What do you think about this? What do you think? I had a player message me the other day asking me when we were going to start, you know, meeting in the gym, you know, to swing and to throw and stuff like that. So, you know, I like that. I don't, you know, I think there is a group of people out there that would take offense to that and feel like, you know, well, it's not yours. I'll let you know when things are going to happen. You know what I mean? But I want that communication to happen in our teams. I want it to happen between our players, and I want it to happen with our coaches, because my thing is the coach is just a role.
Yeah.
You know, talking about strength in 9, you know, the idea that you have 9 players on the field and then you have players on the bench, you know, they have a role. You know, and that role that they serve is important to the success of the team. A coach is just a role. You know, it's not. There's certain things I do, and there's certain things I have to do as the head coach to you know, serve my role, you know, successfully. But it's just a role. It's not my team, and sometimes I say it. I've grown up in a team. Yeah, right. I do, but it's because, you know, I talk about my football team, which is the Cleveland Browns, right? I've always done that. And like, got guys like you saying what?
I chuckle about that a little bit.
Well, I do too. It's silly, right? And because I don't have, they don't listen to me.
Right.
If they
right.
did, we would already won 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
But if they don't listen to me, it's not us. It's them. It's the Cleveland Browns.
You have so much invested in it though that you feel like it is yours.
Yeah.
And that's the point that we're making here.
But with this, on my teams, I want it to be us.
Right.
I want it to be we, but not my.
Yeah.
So that's the type of culture that I want. I want those guys to understand that it's their team, and I feel like if it's their team, it's their goals.
Yeah. Well,
they own it.
That's and the truth is that your team is what your culture is, and you said the word culture, and it reminds me of the definition of culture, and I think this kind of fits because you have in any given organization or team, family, church, whatever it is, you have what you want your culture to be as leaders of that organization. Mm-hmm. As a coach, I know what I want my culture to be. And what do we do to try to create that culture? We meet with them at the beginning and we outline what our goals are, and we make an acrostic using the word eagle, these are the things we're going to stand for. We're going to print that on our T-shirt, and we're going to make posters. We're going to put those posters in the locker room and in the dugout, and everybody's going to touch it when they go out and all this stuff. And then when somebody asks you what's the mission of your team, you're going to recite this mission statement and everything. But then the question is that really our culture? Mm-hmm. And the truth is, if you really want to know the culture of any team or organization, ask somebody who's not in it what they see and hear and observe when they walk in from the outside.
Yeah.
When they become part of your team. What is the call? Like if you have a new kid joins your team after a couple of weeks, say, just define our culture.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And
might have an opportunity to do that
because
this year.
All these people you're getting from my school.
Do we want to compare competitive balance numbers?
The definition of culture is not what's written on the posters in your dugout or on your wall. It's not what your mission statement is. The definition of culture is what the behavior of the people that are in the organization, on the team, what they listen to, what they say, watch how they behave, and what's observed from that and what is heard. That's your culture.
Yeah.
And so in order to influence your culture, there has to be player ownership of it. You can't, because if it's just not who they are, if you're trying to force something that's not, now I'm not saying that to let them be whatever they want to be.
Nope.
You can influence them.
Yep.
But especially in today's world, the way, people are talking about I was just talking with somebody the other day about this here at OU, actually, about the kinds of coaches, the different kinds of coaches you're seeing in all the levels of play, from professional down. And you're seeing some coaches that are choosing to get out of it because they know it's a different day.
It's hard, man.
It's a different type of coaching that is required, and they're seeing it, and you've got coaches that you look at and you're like, I don't know about that guy, but I think he's the right guy. Like I think Marcus Freeman's the right guy at Notre Dame.
Really?
Yeah, they had a terrible loss, but you watch the way that man coaches. I bet you those players love him. I bet you they take a lot of ownership on that team and love that guy.
Yeah.
I just get the sense, like, how do I know, right? For
Who
real.
else?
Coach Alvin's like that here. He's there's a different way. He coaches differently than Coach Solich did.
The Lions coach.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot, what is his name?
It's a new guy. Cardinals coach. Oh no, Patriots coach. Mayo.
Yeah.
I could see that with those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different generation, right? A different generation of player, but it's also requiring a different mindset or generation of coaches. Not saying that an old guy can't connect, because I certainly hope that we can, because I'm starting to become the old guy.
Yeah, otherwise we're running out of time, aren't we?
But it's also important. There's a reason
Yes.
why I like having young assistants. I've got an assistant that graduated 3 years ago and one that graduated 2 years ago, and and then the rest of us are old.
Yeah.
But I also see how our players connect with those assistant coaches, those younger assistant coaches,
Yeah.
differently than they connect with me.
For sure.
And
I think it's powerful to have that connection too, and not to, as a head coach, not to sever it. So like you don't,
right.
if there's a decision to be made, or like, obviously I empower my coaches to do that, but I also am okay if one of those coaches come to me and say, hey, this is happening.
Yeah, they already made the decision and they're just letting you know.
Or they didn't and they don't want,
Oh,
like
gotcha.
they don't want to make that, like
Yeah.
if they make that, if they, enforce a rule or something like that,
Yeah.
it could hurt the dynamic
yeah,
between them and the other
like,
guys, 'cause
hey, I'm just letting you know.
yeah.
So that
I
you can
take care
enforce
of
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
That
and
doesn't
you
happen
don't come
often,
back
but-
to that assistant and say, well, why don't you take care of it?
No, right,
Because you
yes.
know.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's good because you need that, because the alternative is the assistant doesn't bring that to you and participates in the against the rule thing that's happening.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that creates poor culture.
That you have a culture issue, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
you've got the actual behavior is going against what you believe is happening on your team.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. And, I like you talk about, the mission statements and things like that, the goals and all that. And I think you create those things as a way to direct mindset.
Yeah, it's not that
to
we don't have them.
And
We
not-
have them.
It's not, yeah. And you may not always live up every day. You may not live up to
you
them.
might need to adjust. You might need to pivot.
Yeah. Right.
That mission statement.
Yeah. But it guides you.
Yeah.
And that you use those things to,
Yeah.
but you can't just hang it on the wall. And
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of offices, a lot of teams in my professional career that, we spent months trying to come up with our mission statement. And, then, a year later,
Oh yeah.
what was our
How
mission
long has that
statement?
been hanging on the wall?
What's over there?
Buddy,
it's behind the water cooler.
Put it in a nice frame and really nice font. It's been there for a year. You can't recite it though.
Right.
Yeah. I tell you, man, this goes back, like, I'm gonna get biblical on you again, but this is exactly what I preached on Sunday. We were in James, and we're in James chapter 4, and the last few verses of that talks about making plans, but realizing that your plans might change, right? Like you might say, tomorrow or the next day we're going to go here and do this and do that, and that's great, but only the Lord really knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
Sure.
So it's not like he's saying don't make plans, because it doesn't really matter what you decide to do anyway. God's going to do what he wants to do.
Right.
It's that, no, there's somewhere in the middle. Like, make your plans, but also be ready to pivot, because tomorrow it might not happen the way you think it's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I like your phrase that you use a lot, and that's be where your feet are.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very, that's a great rule in everything that you do in life. You can carry that with you every
Have a
single
plan
day.
for tomorrow, but live today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Whatever you're doing. And, that's a biblical thought as well.
For sure.
'Cause, everything we do, we should do it to the glory of God. And that, but again, you got to buy into that. You got to believe in it, and we talk about, you don't let them, you want your team to be a player-led team, but there still has to be oversight into that, because you can't let the inmates run the prison. You don't want it can't be that, and that's the way the Bible works as well, right?
Yeah.
Jesus established the institution of the church, which is
think about the ways he delegated stuff to his disciples to do.
Sure,
Yeah.
right, but and even though so there's your guidance, there's your leadership right there in the
your
principles,
model,
and sure, and you stick to that, but that don't mean you don't own that, But and that's a belief,
Right.
It comes down to belief, and do the players believe in what they're doing, and if they don't, that's an issue, right? If they're not believing what they're doing, then you have an issue, because that's why we know so many great things about Jesus Christ.
Right.
Because, the stories of him healing people and raising people from the dead and, bringing demons out of people, he did that for a very specific reason, so that the people around him believed in who he was. Yeah. And because they believed, that allowed them to take what they learned from him and go on and own it. Yeah. Right. They owned it. Those apostles owned that ministry
all the way to their grave.
All the way to the grave. That's right, for sure. So
their early grave. Yeah, not just only one of them died of old age. Right. That was John.
Yeah,
the rest of them, it was early. Yeah, and it was martyr.
Yeah. Their choice. They chose exactly to believe in that over the sanctity of life. Yeah. So the concept that we're talking about, and we've said it before. We get it out of the Bible. Regardless of where you stand, it's there. And I think just, thinking about, the things that are happening, and I think we could really, all of us could really benefit from returning, to in our everyday lives to reading Scripture and applying that to our life the best way that we can. So much good stuff in there. Oh, I mean, I love those TikTok videos, right? I like sliding through those TikToks and seeing, motivational videos and things like that.
I do.
It's the same thing in the Bible.
Yeah, it really
you open the Bible, you get the same thing.
That's true.
You know what I mean? There's so many pieces of Scripture in there. The whole thing is, right. That's what it breathes life into you. So that's where ownership comes from.
I'll give you an example of, you said something a minute ago about how we want our players to have ownership, which means they've got to be given the opportunity to do things and to lead. If we want player-led teams, then how do you do that? What do they actually do? But at the same time, you still need to provide oversight. Like, it's still you. Like, if you need to help them with the boundaries, you got to help them with the boundaries, right? And so I'll just give a real practical example of something that we're doing this year on our baseball team. And it's not something. It wasn't my idea. It was the idea of one of my players. He came to me in the spring and he said, "Coach, can I help you? Can I help you write our off-season strength and conditioning program?"
It's awesome.
And because I know this kid, and I know that he's the most passionate kid we have in the weight room. Everybody, I mean, there's no question about it. He wants to be an exercise physiologist. That's what he wants to do. He spends a lot of time talking with Brock and Connor. Connor who was running our lifting last year. I knew he knew what to do and how to gather the information. So instead of saying, "Yeah, you can help me do it," I said, "Why don't you do it?" I said, I have an idea. I said, "You go ahead and tackle it. You're in it. You're going to be doing it, right? Tackle it, start working on it at the beginning of the summer, what you think we should do from day one," which was August 30th, I believe, or somewhere around there. Day one, August 30th, take us all the way to February 17th, whatever the first day is for us this year. I don't know what the exact day is. Don't quote me on that.
19th, isn't it?
Yes, it might be.
The
first day of mandatory practice, right?
Yeah.
And then I said, we'll continue to lift there, but we'll adjust the volume, based on what we're doing in practice and how much what kind of strenuous activity we're putting on your legs that day or in your arms, things like that. But I said, in terms of the off-season program, send me something. I mean, write up a plan, write up an idea, and send it to me, and let's take a look at it. And it's fantastic. It's really good. He's got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and so phase 1, week 1, phase 1, like we're in phase 1, week 4 right now. Get ready to move to phase 2 here soon. In terms of what we're doing, there's mobility work. There's an entire mobility routine. Of 15 to 20 different exercises. And then there's mobility work at the beginning of each exercise. So you've got the same routine every day, we need to be doing this every day. And then you've got mobility work before, warm up before the lifts. Then you got the main lifts. Some of those lifts are supersetted with other things, auxiliary things, some supportive lifts. And then we finish with agility, with finishers, strengthening, like speed work and things like that. And that's the same structure that we've used for a couple of years, right? but there's some different things in there. There's some things that he believes are important for our team.
Yeah, sure.
And that's exactly what he said to me. He's like, just considering our team, considering the makeup of our guys, our bodies, and what we need. This is kind of what I put together. And I'm like, how much different would I have done that?
Sure.
Right.
Not
at all. I mean,
well, and don't you like the thing? That's a win, man. Like
it is.
You can't. That doesn't show up on a banner.
No,
that's a win.
Exactly.
Like that's a that's a story of success for your baseball program.
Yeah, it really is. I'm really proud of that. I mean, I'm proud of him. I'm proud of our guys for embracing it.
Yeah,
because the same thing is
also
because the other guys be like, Caleb wrote this. One of our teammates wrote this. Like, I'm not doing that. I don't trust that. No, they do. They know. Yeah. Well, one reason they know is because they look at him.
Yeah,
he's an example, right? Yeah. He's doing if it's worked for him, it was probably going to work for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
And so it's really cool. Now, the other side of that is we haven't just turned them loose. Like, we're not just like, hey, it's completely student led. Go in the weight room. We're not allowed to do that. We got to have oversight of that.
Yeah, you're still there looking for them.
Yeah, we got coaches in there. You know, I go down whenever I can't be there. I know assistant coaches can be there, but I also know that that because there is so much ownership, because there is a lot of student leadership in the weight room this year. I don't have to, my role in there is completely different. Like, we have a player who just recently had a part of his leg amputated, and he's rehabbing, and he's working on wanting to build more strength in his upper body while he's trying to work on getting that leg strong enough to wear a prosthesis so he can be on the field this year, right? And he's been coming to the weight room, but he needs hand-on-hand assistance because, one, he needs somebody to look at that workout plan and say, okay, here's what we're doing today. These are the things you can do. These are the things you're not going to be able to do. And so we're going to adjust it. And then so I've been able to focus more attention on him, you know. And
yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. I've got, with our workouts right now, we've got a few of our older guys.
We don't have a ton of people in there right now.
But I've got a good group of younger guys that are in there that don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And even we had some softball players come in the other day, and because they had been in the weight room and knew what the program was, we talked a little bit about what we're going to do that day.
That's really cool.
And they've just the older kids, the softball players, the baseball players went and they were working out, and every once in a while I'd look over at them, say good job, or you need to do this or whatever, and then I was able to spend more time with the younger guys and teach them up on weight room etiquette. Here's what you're thinking about. Here's what you want to try to accomplish when you go into the weight room. And, things like that. And so that you're building some successes there as you go. I wish there was more. Yeah. I wish I had more in there so that I could see it. But
it's tough for programs our size though, because
well, the big thing is
you always have kids that should be there that aren't there. Like, we've got a handful of kids that aren't playing anything right now, and they should be in the weight room, right?
Sure.
And I do everything I can to guilt them, right? and to encourage them, not but sending those messages out, and things like that. But ultimately, if you're going to be there, if you want to be there,
they lack ownership in it. Is what it is. You know what I mean? It's like they have or belief, one or the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But the truth is, there's not a lot of those guys. I mean, and that's what's tough, is because there's a lot of energy in numbers, and when you get a bunch of people in there, it creates this atmosphere of we're all doing this together, and I'm looking forward to the next time. But when there's only a handful that show up because a lot of our guys are playing football, the ones that aren't playing football are running cross country or playing golf, or just choose, a handful may be choosing not to come, the ones that are there every day can get, I don't want to say discouraged, but can lack the energy because they're not really working out with their team.
And there's a lack of unity there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's speaking to what we're talking about.
Because we can't make it mandatory. No. Right.
Well, and you can't, because you can't make a football player come in.
Well, exactly. Right.
Without a lot of communication. You know what I mean? Because, right now, I would say you're probably not, like right now in our weight program, we're looking to just build strength for the most part. So we're lifting heavy, or at least trying to build up to that throughout the summer.
Right.
With the kids that aren't in a sport. With the kids that are in a sport, we do something a little different. And, so football teams are lifting as well.
Yeah.
So they lift
yeah,
in their
they are.
practices, and here's another thing we have. I have kids in sports fitness class. They'll lift, and like one day we'll come in. I'll say we're going to bench today. Well, today's a bench day, and they're like, oh, well,
I just got through doing that.
I just benched. I'm like, oh, okay, well, you can do this, but it's hard, and those are challenges that are presented to us because of the dynamics that we have. We got a lot of kids playing
Right.
football and cross country and golf, and and it'd be the same from a softball perspective or from a track perspective. And sometimes you want to focus; those different athletes focus on different ways to build their body.
Right.
Someone that wants to lift.
It really
for track,
should be individualized for everybody.
It really. I mean,
it really should be.
That would be the most. But you don't. You
just,
get what you can get.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's my thought. Like I had a guy at because right now, here's the other thing, we also have basketball is working out right now. Right.
Good.
And they're in their off season, but they're about to be in season here in 1 month, almost.
Yeah.
Does that start like November 1st?
November, yeah.
Mandatory, right? And so they're close to their in season. And so I've got a couple guys that play basketball, a few guys that play basketball that aren't playing football, but they're baseball guys too. And so that's where a couple of my baseball guys are, right? They're like, and one of them was apologetic. He's like, hey, I'm working out with basketball. I want you to know that's what I'm, because it's the next sport coming up, and I didn't want you to be upset. And I'm like, there may have been a day when I was like, I'd rather you be with us, I mean, but my response literally was this, buddy, as long as you're getting stronger, I don't care who you're doing it with. I mean, the dynamics are such now, like granted, I could hound and say it's, we got a chance to go to the state and we need you all there. What do you want? Do you want it or not? Right. As a team, if you want it as a team, we're going to work out as a team. And we could really make them feel really terrible for not being there. But in my mind, I'm thinking
there's a cost
it's
to
just
that.
hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
We got 180 or so kids in the whole school, and a bunch of them are playing sport. What'd you say? We had almost 50 kids in our football roster or more?
I think
54, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
98 boys.
Yeah.
Oh, that was last year. You had 98 boys last year because I was looking at your numbers.
Was it? Yeah.
You had 98 boys
it's
last
not that
year.
much different this year.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Actually, ours was exactly the same from the last year.
Yeah, it's like
to this
107
year, which
now,
is odd.
I think. 107 maybe.
Is it 107?
Or is that with our competitive balance? Our competitive balance number is 10.
Something like that.
And I think we're at 111. So maybe we might have like 101 boys or something like that.
Gotcha.
But half of those boys are playing football.
Yeah.
And then a handful of them are playing golf. And then a handful of them are playing basketball. Mm-hmm. Right?
You're basically.
And then some of them aren't they're just not athletes.
I honestly
they do other things.
I honestly think you should have to bump up another division out of the, like the private school rule.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, that's basically what you are. I mean, you recruit kids from all over, and definitely a lot from Megs, and so I don't know. I can't hear it. What's is it a bleeper? Is my we're shutting down on that one. Huh?
Podcast is over.
No.
Hit the wrong one again.
It is interesting to look at all these competitive balance numbers, though.
It is. I
You
can't make sense of it hardly.
You can tell there's some schools that definitely have a lot more kids coming from out of district than than others.
Yeah, you certainly can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, they're obviously doing something right to attract those kids and get them to buy into what they're doing, right?
Maybe that's it.
They're all working in the same direction, so
Yeah,
something
maybe.
to think about.
That's one way to look at it.
I mean, you don't have to feel guilty about it. You're not doing anything illegal. You recruit all
We're
my
just losing
all
of our players.
You recruit all my elementary
They're all
kids.
going to your school. Elementary school kids. Well, you got to get them there in elementary school so that they don't affect that number.
Just as long,
much.
yeah, right. And then just as long as they get there by
that's
junior
the
high.
plan. If you look up our plan, our recruiting plan that we have.
This is your mission statement.
teasing.
On your
That's
mission
a joke.
statement.
That's a joke.
The Ohio High School Athletic Association.
That's our mission statement.
None of these
Recruiting mission statement.
None of these comments are sponsored by Meigs High School or Eastern High School.
You know what, Pat? We could say whatever we want down here because no one in the OHSAA pays any attention to anything that happens below Lancaster.
Ooh, I guess we'll find out. Coach, it's good talking to you today.
Yeah, buddy.